Hello everyone, warm welcome to Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel by Textbook. I welcome you all in a very important session where we are going to discuss the important current affairs related to finance. As you all know, every Tuesday we come up with the session that is basically related to the finance current affairs, and on Wednesday we have the RBI updates. So today in this particular session we will be discussing few news from the finance as well as RBI, because unfortunately I was not able to conduct the session yesterday due to some medical issues. So what I have done is I have combined the entire content for this week for finance as well as RBI in a single session, in a single video. I hope it works for the current week. So before we start the discussion, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, guys? May I have a reply in the comment section, please, that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. I'm just waiting for the reply. Along with that, we'll quickly copy the link of this session and let's share the session with our friends. You also do the same along with me. Copy the session or link of this session, share it with your friends so that more and more students, they can join us live in this particular session, which is a combined session for not only RBI current affairs, but we have the finance current affairs as well in this session itself. May I have a reply quickly, guys? So let's quickly share the link. In today's session, we will be discussing 3 to 4 important current affairs related to finance and 3 to 4 important current affairs related to RBI. And trust me, guys, these all news are going to be really very important for your upcoming examination. Fine. So let's quickly share the link. And once you have shared this link, good evening, Parmeshwar, long time. So quickly, I would request everyone share the link and do let me know in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine. Okay, so let's begin the discussion without any further delay. The moment we use this word, that is current affairs, the first thing which is really very important for everyone to understand, that current affairs is going to play a really very important role in your upcoming examination. The reason is quite obvious, because these days, not only in RBI, but in most of the competitive exams, majority questions are asked. Majority questions are asked from current affairs itself. Keeping that part in mind, current affairs need to be prepared really very well so that you can clear your examination, and that too in the very first attempt. And what you need to do is not only covering, rather the source which you are following for the current affairs is also really very important. Is it fine, guys? Is it clear? So let's begin the discussion. If you all are ready and you want me to start with the discussion, just give me yes sir in the comment section. I'll try my level best to utilize best out of the next 45 minutes or maybe 60 minutes, which are going to help you a lot. I hope you all are very well aware that we not only provide current affairs related to finance alone, we provide you the current affairs related to, or weekly current affairs related to, which we call PIB, analysis, finance, then RBI. Along with that, we have weekly government scheme coverage, ESI current affairs, as well as important reports and schemes. If you want to download the PDF of this session, then what you need to do is you just need to subscribe the Telegram channel where this PDF is going to be available. Okay, there is certain lag in the video. Please check it now. Is it fine? Okay, chalo ji, let's start with the first news. Now, the first news we have is related to the latest trade agreement which has been signed between India and group of European nations. Before I discuss this particular trade agreement in much detail, and I have given you the reference to this trade agreement in my previous session as well, where I have discussed regarding the latest trade agreement which India has signed with the European nations. Today, what we will be doing is, today we will be discussing, in detail regarding what actually the free trade agreement is. I don't know how many of you are aware of this particular term, but I would request you to please understand this concept in much detail because many questions are asked in the examination related to the same. The moment I say trade agreement, what actually trade agreement is? See, before I discuss the term trade agreement, we need to understand that let's suppose we have India and India is exporting goods to the other nations. Let's say India is exporting goods to China. India is exporting goods to US. India is exporting goods to Germany. India is exporting goods to Germany. When the goods which are manufactured in India, they are exported to the nations like US, China, Germany. Obviously, these nations, they are going to charge a tax on them. The tax which is charged, we call that tax as what? So we call that tax as import duty. But have you given a thought that why countries they charge import duty? Have you ever thought about it? Because import duty is something which is impacting not only Indian economy, it is impacting all over the, I would say, world economy on regular basis, and we must be aware. We must be aware of the reason that why. We must be aware of this particular reason. We must be aware of this particular reason that why import duty is charged. If you don't know, then today I will be discussing this point with you, and this is going to give you a much better understanding regarding the economics and the day-to-day operations. You know what, guys? The goods which are manufactured, okay. So I'm not getting any particular answer. Parmeshwar is saying because it is not consuming or it is not consumed in the originating country. If it is not consumed in the originating country, how it is going to impact the nation? For example, you are US. I am manufacturing a good in India. How that product is going to hamper you? I'm not getting that point. See, try to understand this point in much detail. Basically, the product which is manufactured, basically product which is manufactured in India, that particular product is providing, that particular product is basically providing employment in India. That particular product is providing employment in India. It is adding to the GDP of India. But end of the day, it is consumed. Outside India. Now, we are not concerned about the consumption. That is all fine. The consumption part is all fine. What we are basically concerned of, if you ask me, we are basically concerned of a situation that the goods which are manufactured in India, but they are consumed in nation like US, in that particular case, obviously the benefits of that particular product is going to be enjoyed by the US citizens. I agree that. But the hardships or the externalities of that particular product is also going to be, it is also going to be witnessed, or it is also going to be impacted, or it is also going to be witnessed by the same, that is US. For example, if I talk about US in India, a four-wheeler is manufactured and now this four-wheeler is imported in US and now it is consumed in US. So the pollution caused by, this particular car is not going to impact India, rather is going to impact US, and on the other side it is benefiting India in terms of increasing the GDP, in terms of increasing the employment, in terms of growth, development and profits. So in order to counter this part, secondly, the other reason is, think of a situation, just think of a situation, if the same product is manufactured in US and it is consumed in US, then it is adding on to the US GDP, plus it is providing employment opportunities. It is providing employment opportunities in US. Then US is ready to bear the pollution or to bear the externalities as well. So in order to promote, first one, in order to promote domestic goods, and secondly, in order to, I would say, compensate, I would use a word, in order to compensate externalities of good consumption, countries they come up with import duty. But there is one more reason which is basically prevalent in developing countries like India, where we know that India is a nation with low forex reserve, or India is a nation where we are paying in foreign currency for our imports and our imports are already high. So in order to avoid outflow of foreign currency, or in order to decrease the outflow of foreign currency, as well as in order to avoid depreciation, of Indian currency with respect to foreign currency, these initiatives have been taken. Are you getting my point, guys? So I can use here a word domestic country or domestic currency with respect to the foreign currency. Guys, no one is going to explain you in this manner, and there is a probability that the question could be asked in the examination related to the same. If it is clear till this point, then just give me yes sir, so that I can move ahead. So next time if someone asks you why import duty is charged on the import of goods and services, obviously I can expect that you are in a position to answer this question pretty well, even if this question is asked in a descriptive manner, then also you will be in a position to answer this particular question. Is it clear, guys? Okay. Now, the next point where I would like to jump now, sir, after understanding the situation, or after understanding the concept related to import duty, now we have a term that is tax, or I would say the import duty which has been charged. Now with many countries, not only India, but other countries, they want to increase their financial ties, they want to increase their trade ties, and in order to promote import and export between the nations, they sign up with an agreement which we call it as free trade agreement. Now this free trade agreement is of different types. And on the basis of its types, is I would say conditions, its reasons, it has been explained in the economy. Got it? Is this point clear? Now, whenever we talk about a trade agreement, contractual agreement between states related to their trade relation, is basically termed as what? So it is basically termed as trade agreement. For most countries, I would say international trade is regulated by unilateral barriers. For example, we have tariffs, non-tariff barriers, we have even the outright prohibition, which all are involved in the economy. In most modern economies, there is a possibility of collision or collation. When we talk about this point, it means a few countries, they come together, they make a group where they say that I will be accepting your goods on zero import duty, but you should also give me the same right that you will be accepting the goods of my country in your nation on the same, that is zero import duty. So thus it is not surprising that successful trade agreements, they are very complicated. Some of the trade agreements are reciprocity, which we call it as reciprocal, means you do this for us, we will be doing that for you. Next is a most favored nation. Then the third one, we have the national treatment of non-tariff barriers. Now, the moment this, I would say, trade practices, they come in picture, there is an organization which manages it, that is World Trade Organization. Before I go to that, the first type of trade agreement which I would love to discuss, I'll just add a new slide. The first type of trade agreement is, which I would love to discuss, because this type of trade agreement is generally ignored by most of the students and it can be asked in the examination directly. So the first one I would be coming up with reciprocity agreement. If someone asks me what is it, sir, it is basically a necessary feature of any agreement. If each required party does not gain profit from a particular agreement, then obviously both the parties are not going to sign that agreement for sure. Are you understanding my point? For example, you and me, we are tying up with each other, but I'm not getting profit after tying up with you. Obviously, I won't tie up with you, na? There should be an agreement where we both the parties or all the parties which are tied up, they should be at profit, they should be at gain. So for this reciprocity, if each party required or if each required party does not gain by the agreement as a whole, then there is no one or the parties are not going to agree. So if agreement takes place, it may be assumed that each party to the agreement, they are enjoying the benefits. For example, country A, in exchange of reducing barriers to country B's product, may thereby benefit, which will obviously benefit the country's A consumer and country's B producer, but simultaneously country B will also insist country A to reduce its barrier. So it is reciprocal. You can even use it in a form of vice versa, which we generally say. Second type of trade agreement, which is very important, that is known as most favored nation. Now the question is, so what do you understand by the term most favored nation? So most favored nation, it is basically a clause prevents one of the parties to the current agreement from further lowering barriers to another country. For example, country A might agree to reduce some of the tariffs on goods which are coming from country B in exchange of their reciprocal concessions. Without a most favored nation clause, country A could then further reduce tariff for same goods from country C in exchange of the other concession. So as a result, A's consumer would be able to purchase goods not only from country B but also from country C, because of purchase goods from A as well as B, from B as well as C, but the agreement with C is more stronger, or I would say the tariffs are much lower for goods of country C rather than B. So it's quite obvious country C goods will be available in the country A at cheaper price. it will be available in country A at cheaper price, which will impact the market of goods of country B. So most favored nation status means that A is required to extend the lowest existing tariff on specified goods to all its trading partners having such status. If A agrees to lower the tariff for C, it automatically lowers the tariff for B as well, so that the goods of B and C in A should be equal. They should be neck to neck. There should be no favoritism shown by a country. The last one we have is national treatment of non-tariff restrictions. Now if someone asks me what is the meaning of this national treatment, so it basically means, this clause basically says that most of the countries which sign this agreement, it basically means that if in a nation we have two goods in a market, which one is produced in the country, other one is imported in a nation, they both will be treated equally in front of all different types of benefits, as well as marketing laws, market provision, everything will be same for all. For example, in a very simple term, there is a product A which is manufactured and imported. There is a product A again which is domestically manufactured, but both the products will be showcased in the market in same manner. No favoritism or no, I can say, discrimination is shown to the international product. That is basically known as the national treatment. So even without constraint imposed by most favored nations and national treatment clause, there are sometimes multilateral agreements to reach to a situation where beneficial situation is generated, and we know that earlier GATT was responsible for the same, and now GATT has been updated into World Trade Organization. Now, moving on to the next question. The next question is, so what do you understand by the word free trade agreement? Free trade agreement, and India has signed this agreement with how many nations till date? Free trade agreement, and with how many nations India has signed this agreement till date? Any idea, guys? Any idea on the count? Any idea on the count that with how many nations India has already signed this particular agreement? Any idea? Anyone in the comment section, please? Obviously, the number is not easy to trace. I agree to that point. It's not easy to trace, but it's again an important term which you must remember. No? Okay. First of all, let's try to decode what is free trade agreement. So whenever we use this word free trade agreement, I'll start my discussion in this manner. Free trade agreement, it is basically a contract between two or more nations which basically reduces the barriers to import and export among them. So under a free trade agreement policy, goods and services can be bought as well as they can be sold across the international borders with little or no government tariffs, no quotas, no subsidies, and no prohibitions, so that a smooth trade can be witnessed. So if I talk about India and free trade agreement, in that particular case, India possesses its traces of free trade agreement from Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership in November 2019, the 15-member FTA grouping, which include Japan, China, Australia, went into cold storage for India. But in May 2021, again, India has announced its free trade agreement with European Union, which is under talks since 2013. So bilateral free trade agreement has been done by India, but if you say an agreement with a particular organization like Europe, it's still underway. But yes, recently India has almost on the verge to implement its free trade agreement with EFTA. We will be discussing that, don't worry. But if I say bilateral free trade agreement, yes, India has signed bilateral free trade agreement with UAE, with UK, with Australia, as well as with Canada, Got it? Now, let's jump to the point for which we are here. The point we are here is related to EFTA. Let's quickly discuss this term. So first of all, what is EFTA? So EFTA stands for European Free Trade Association, and European Free Trade Association is basically an intergovernmental organization which is set up for the promotion of trade and economic integration as well as benefits to 4 members. If you ask me the names of the 4 members, Iceland, Liechtenstein, then we have Norway, and we have Switzerland. If I talk about the history, so this European Free Trade Association was set up back in 1960, and unwillingly, I would say, European Economic Community, they became the main predecessor of European Union. So the main task is to sign the agreement so that better trade facilities can be provided within the nations. Now, the important point, India exports to EFTA during 2022-23 was around $1.92 billion, while imports were around $16.74 billion. Please pay attention. If I talk about India's export to EFTA, that is 4 nations which include Norway, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, and Iceland. Exports were $1.92 billion. And if I talk about imports, it is $16.74 billion. This is a point. So bilateral trade means sum of import and export is around $18.65 billion. Obviously, the largest trading partner is Switzerland, followed by Norway. That is quite obvious. So in fact, India has a trade deficit with Switzerland, and that is basically due to gold imports. Why it is so? So it is basically because of gold imports, because we import huge gold from Switzerland. So India European Free Trade Association, they have collectively signed an agreement. And that agreement is known as TEPA. That agreement is basically known as TEPA. Now the question is, so what do you understand by the word TEPA? What should be my answer? If this question is asked to me, what is the meaning of TEPA, then what will be my answer to this? My answer to this particular question is, TEPA stands for Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, which was signed back in March 2024. Objective of this agreement is to create opportunity for trade and investment between India and EFTA, and it basically aims to ensure fair and transparent market access, and obviously to facilitate trade procedures and custom cooperation. Coverages, this agreement include 14 chapters, which include trade in goods, rule of origin, intellectual property rights, and many more. If I talk about the key highlights, this agreement is committed to promote or is committed to increase the investment in form of foreign direct investment by $100 billion in India in next 15 years. So as you can see, India is a nation which is having trade deficit with these countries. And if we are signing a trade agreement, that is a clear loss to the Indian government. But why we still sign these agreements? Because we have trade deficit with most of the nation. The reason is quite obvious. The reason is quite clear. What is the reason? So the reason is, what is the reason? Sir, the reason is India, with the help of this agreement, basically ask these kind of nations to promote foreign investment in India, which will enhance growth, development, GDP, as well as forex reserves of the country, So next time, if someone asks you what is free trade agreement, I'm pretty sure you will be in a position to answer this. Please go through with this particular agreement which has been signed recently. Is it fine, guys? Is it fine? Okay, so next, as we discussed in the previous session, IMF has approved Sri Lanka's third bailout review. So please go through with this. We have already discussed this particular news. Why I have come up with these news again? Because I have got many doubts, many doubts that we are not able to understand few important areas related to this, and we have discussed about the exchange forex reserve in the past. So I hope from this particular session you are in a position to answer a question to yourself: what is a free trade agreement? If you want to clear your examination, and that too in a very first attempt, you can join, or I would say you must join Lakshya batch. Use code MADHAV in order to enjoy maximum discount, and with the help of this particular code you will be in a position to enroll yourself. It's not a batch, it's a subscription format where we allow you to, where we give you the access to n number of courses. We give you access to one-to-one mentorship, mock test, live classes, and much more. So do register yourself. You can download the PDF from this, and I'm pretty sure you must have enjoyed the discussion. Do not forget to like the session before leaving, and do share the link of this session with your friends so that more and more students are aware of this particular session. Good luck, guys. God bless you all. See you soon.